are you? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Digital Decode Live. More people are joining in, so I think we should wait for 4 minutes and then we can start. I think we should start now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Digital Decode Live, where technology meets innovation. I am Rashi Sharma, your moderator for today's session Smart Farms 2.0 How AI is Revolutionizing Sustainable Farming Practices. Joining us today are two industry pioneers. Stephen from Growers, he's the CEO of Growers, and Gaurav, Chief Strategy Officer at Successive Digital. Welcome, Stephen and Gary. Thank you for joining us today.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Rashi.
So, to everyone joining us live on LinkedIn and YouTube, thanks for tuning in. We have an exciting session planned for you. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and we will answer as many as possible during the Q&A. And here's a surprise for you. Stay with us until the end to unlock something exclusive we have prepared for you. So, before diving in, I think we should quickly talk about the challenges that agritech faces today. Challenges that AI uniquely addresses. Imagine running a marathon blindfolded. That's what farming often feels like without the right tools and data. Farmers have the endurance and dedication, but every step becomes a gamble without clear direction. Because agritech is an ecosystem built by farmers, retailers, and aggregators, let's break down the challenges they face. For farmers, some common challenges are dependency on unpredictable weather patterns, poor resource allocation leads to wastage, and fragmented access to modern technologies. And for retailers, inconsistent supply quality, price volatility in procurement, and limited transparency in supply chains are some of the major issues. And if we talk about aggregators, data overload without actionable insights, inefficient logistics, and high level of wastage during transit are some common challenges. But here's the good news: AI isn't just a buzzword, it's a GPS for this marathon, providing visibility, insights, and scalability. In fact, the global agritech market is expected to grow from 20 billion US dollars in 2024 to 35 billion US dollars by 2028, and primarily due to the adoption of AI. So, Stephen, let's start with you. What inspired you to venture into the agritech space, and what do you see as the biggest challenge in the industry today?
Yeah, so I think the inspiration to get started in agriculture really came from just my background in upgrading. So I've been involved in farming. My family farmed here in the United States, and so it's spent my entire life in some way, shape, or form connected to agriculture. And I think the thing that really piqued my interest going back, 15 plus years ago when I started growers was this intersection between, the new technology that was getting brought into the market, the vast amounts of data that this new technology was now creating and bringing to the market, and then the intersection with agronomy. So my background, professionally is in, or academically is in agronomy, soil science, and agricultural business management. And so, thinking about what was the opportunity to bring a solution to the market to help farmers and really the entire agriculture ecosystem kind of marry agronomy technology and data analytics into one complete package that ultimately helps all parties make better decisions with the data for a better outcome for those that are involved in agriculture. The challenges that we face today in some ways are not so dissimilar from the challenges that we faced 15 years ago. I think we'll probably talk a little bit about the promise that AI brings to solving those. But I think for literally the past 2 decades, the challenge has primarily been around this concept of everything's generating data. This data is going in a variety of different directions, ending up in a variety of different platforms, and the accessibility and completeness of the data is a big challenge, right? How accessible and visible and useful is that information? And then more importantly, how do we take that information and turn it from just information to actually actionable insights? So one step further, it's great to be informed, but it's even better, I think, to take that information and use it to make actionable decisions. And that's been a huge challenge, just because of the disparity of data sources, the variety of different ways that this information can be compiled. And I think, in 2025, this industry's, I think, in a great spot, given that the advent of AI has finally made its way into agriculture and is showing some really interesting promise for solving some of these big challenges that have, for most part, stumped this industry for a very long time.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. You really shared some great point here. And it's clear that AI empowers farmers by transforming data into actionable insights, helping them make smarter decisions. And it also integrates diverse data like weather forecasts, soil health, and crop conditions into a unified system. It reduces inefficiencies and waste while improving crop yields. And of course, real time insights ensure farming practices are smarter and more sustainable and data driven. And Stephen's point about data and AI integration ties directly into how AI has evolved. And to address this challenge, I would like to ask you, Gary, as an industry leader, what do you think about how AI has evolved in recent years in the agri-tech space?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. So I think amazing point, Stephen. Thanks for sharing your insights. If we look at any industry per se, right, this is a very common industry problem of not having the right set of data sets, and it's quite scattered. And whichever industry is able to pull in the whole data sets and be able to get the right insights are the pioneering industries. Obviously, agriculture, since it's the oldest industry, but then from technology perspective, it has grown significantly. However, if you look at AI, there is still significant room for the next level of disruptions that can happen in this industry, right? Having said that, I think AI is not just the transforming technology for agritech, it is also IoT, because given the nuances of the industry, IoT is very much required to get that sensing of data. And that is when the AI will do the magic, because AI is, as we all know, data hungry. So in past, what has happened in this industry is obviously precision agriculture is now the thing of the past. Gone are the days where we say, oh, wow, the satellite imagery can look at and analyze the tool sets. You have the sensory data to optimize irrigation, fertilization, pest control. All this is happening like even before the inception of Gen AI, right? Tech startups like Tyrannus provide AI-driven crop monitoring systems, and I think Growers is doing a fantastic job over there as well. Predictive analytics is also another one where obviously the weather forecasting has been there for 50 years, right? But predictive analytics is also helping in the crop disease, enabling proactive decision making. As Rashi, you were saying, right? You are walking blindfolded. That is where this trend has changed in terms of how proactively you can make sure that you don't have the crop wastage and you can remove the diseases. Companies like Fasal in India is using AI to provide actionable insights for Indian farmers very proactively. The third is supply chain optimization. So AI streamlines the supply chain by predicting the demand and reducing the wastage, right? And obviously, the biggest concern of the farmer is wastage, right? The biggest concern of the farmer is how soon can I sell my yield so that I can move on to the next one. That is where I think AI is providing a lot of value add in terms of reducing that wastage. And lastly, the whole autonomy of it, right? The whole autonomous tractors, the drones are helping improve the operational efficiencies quite a lot. And we'll talk about drones and some of those autonomous tools in the coming sections of this webinar.
Yeah, right, Gary. Thank you so much. That's an insightful perspective you shared. So, the shift from isolated tools to integrated systems highlights that AI's transformative journey in agritech, right? Also, while you were speaking, I am seeing that I have already got many questions from the audience. And to the audience, keep them coming because we'll answer them all and very shortly. And to the audience, stay tuned because we have a surprise giveaway for you in the end. While the potential of AI is limitless, rolling it out isn't always easy. It often means rethinking old processes, redefining strategies, and implementing new technologies. Now, let's talk about real world examples of how AI transforms farming operations. So, Stephen, can you share some practical examples of how AI improves efficiency and productivity in farming?
Absolutely. So, I think the promise of technology for the longest time in agriculture specifically has been providing farmers access, whether that's access to information or access to markets or access to suppliers, access to capital. And the unique advantage that technology can play in that role is that it makes the world a lot smaller, right? And it's this is a big benefit for smallholder farmers and large farmers alike, is that anytime we can provide access to the things that farmers need to be successful, I think ultimately agriculture is going to win in the long run. And I see AI kind of being the next evolution of that, right? Because what it's doing is actually accelerating and expanding the access that farmers have. I think the speed of innovation is going to nearly go exponential as more and more AI applications get integrated into different agricultural solutions, which is ultimately going to just speed up the ability for farmers to have an impact. So I think there's a number of different examples. Gary kind of touched on one, which is this integration of IoT sensors, large scale data sets, and then boots on the ground information. I think kind of pairing all of that together, it's difficult to do manually. It's difficult to do even inside different technology platforms, but now you have the ability as a user, right, or as a farmer to leverage AI to basically go access and fetch that information and bring you real tangible answers or results. And so, I see the advent of this, this AI agent concept being a very popular and fast-growing part of this industry, because now farmers have access to this information at their fingertips, can ask very complex questions to solve real-world problems, and then immediately get an answer returned to them that could be based on information globally or information locally, while incorporating all of the things that we used to do manually: information from IoT sensors, satellite imagery, historical research documentation, boots on the ground input. So bringing all that information together faster is what's going to help, I think, farmers the most. And I think there's a lot of real world examples of applications like that on the market. Because in agriculture, it's seasonal, which also means it's very timely, right? So the other thing that farmers particularly don't have a lot of time for is to, if they identify a problem or an opportunity, they need to be able to execute on it quickly because the seasons are changing and the weather is changing. And so when you can bring that information to a farmer much faster, I think it just automatically is going to increase the efficacy and the impact that this type of information can have to help them. So I really see, some real world examples of farmers simply being able to access information nearly real time to solve real problems as being one of the probably greatest areas that you're going to see individual impact at a farmer, specifically a small scale farmer level.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephen. And here I would like to ask Gary. I mean, would you like to add something here?
Yeah, sure. So I think Stephen brings up the good point, right? Now, farmers are the one of the largest population of using the smartphones, right? And the smartphones evolution has brought in all the information into their hands. And specifically, if we talk about India, it has grown exponentially given the penetration of 4G and the 5G networks, right? What I'm going to talk about is three to four things. One is the whole smart irrigation. Even for countries which are developing, water supply is the big issue, right, for the farmers. So now there are AI platforms where you can monitor the soil moisture, and then you can automate the real-time irrigation schedule, so you don't have to water it just randomly to all your crops. This is helping in the high yield. This is also helping in reducing of water wastage. Second is the whole crop monitoring and health analysis, right? So there are tools like drone integrated with the AI technology, the whole aerial imagery to identify the nutrient deficiencies and pest infestations. That actually enables the farmers to take targeted action and not just spray it everywhere, right? That's a good segue of the whole automated weed control, right? So there are systems where the AI can identify and spray herbicides only on the weeds, because the biggest problem of agriculture is, and the whole world is going into organic farming and paying millions of dollars just to get the right organic yield, is the whole pesticide spray. But if technology is helping all the farmers just to target on the weeds, then obviously it helps we as humans not eat a lot of pesticides in our food. Lastly, the whole yield prediction, right? So obviously we as businesses, we like to predict nth level of details when we do the business. This is also happening in the agriculture industry, where there are models which can analyze the weather, soil, and historical data to help you forecast your crop yield. Where does this help? This helps them in the supply chain and forecasting the demand so that they can plan the supply chain way ahead, that they'll know that this is the X or Y amount of yield the farmer is going to produce.
Yeah, and Rashi, if I can add on to that, because I think Gary brought up some good points about, obviously, and we've talked a lot about what the impact is for farmers, both large and small, and he mentioned the supply chain. But one of I think the other interesting opportunities that we're seeing here at Growers on how to leverage AI is to really help the industries and the professionals that serve farmers directly. Leveraging this technology to really engage with their customers and ultimately provide a better value added service. So an example of this is understanding the historical purchasing and buying behaviors of farmers, understanding what products that they choose, when they purchase them, why they purchase them, how much they purchase of them, who they purchase them from, is really helping, agricultural retailers, distributors, and wholesalers stitch together this picture of what is the what are the behaviors that these farmers are representing? What preferences do they have? When do they make these decisions? And ultimately, again, just like everything we've been talking about, summarizing and aggregating this data independently is very difficult to do, which is why it's not done very often. And I think what happens there is you have poor customer engagement, or at least opportunities where you could, as a professional serving a farmer, whether that's in the capacity of as an agronomist providing advice, as a retailer or distributor selling or positioning products, the better you can understand your customers' needs, I think the better job you're going to do servicing them, and ultimately the outcome is going to be better, right? So where does AI fit into that? Is being able to access historical transactions, for instance, right? What business have we done in the past, and what does that say about the business we're likely to do in the future? And then being able to continuously train and validate those models, right? This is what we recommended. This is what was purchased. This is what we recommended. This is what was purchased. This goes on and on and on. And to ultimately, I think what we're seeing here at Growers is when you start thinking about how can we understand how to serve customers better using their historical purchases, which is a lot of what we focus on here, and then how can we be more proactive in our approach and providing tailored solutions for each individual customer that we serve at scale, right? And I think that's the big challenge here is how traditionally it's been, how do you do that at scale? And so where we've incorporated AI into what we're doing is kind of combining that. Is I want to know how can we serve you better based on what you've done in the past, and then based on what we know about whether it be the products, the weather, the soil. These things were all nearly untenable to do in a very kind of organized and efficient process. And so they just generally weren't being done or weren't being done well, and certainly not being done at scale. And that switch is flipped now. And now this information is more accessible to even the professionals that serve farmers directly. And at the end of the day, right, when you have more visibility into what's going on in the market, this is where you kind of start to solve a lot of the problems upstream that Gary spoke on, right? Is if we can anticipate demand for products and location where that demand is coming from, it's going to create a ton of efficiencies inside the supply chain. And that's a big important because the agricultural supply chain is global and it's very, very expensive and very complicated with tariffs and trade wars and shipping challenges. So anytime you can bring efficiency into the supply chain, ultimately what that's doing, I think, right, the promise there is that it's going to lower the cost of materials to farmers because there's going to be more efficiency, less waste in how those products are being brought to the market. So these things, I think, are the upstream, effects that ultimately trickle all the way down, I think, to being able to positively impact farmers. But it's a lot broader, and I think that's what gets me personally excited about it. Is the entire industry stands to benefit from this, and it's relatively new to have that level of integration of these type of these data types to be able to make this possible.
Right. Thank you so much, Stephen. You shared a lot, and these insights were really helpful for our audience, I guess. So the examples you both shared here highlights that how AI can transform farming operations and improving efficiency and productivity. However, this raises an important question here. How accessible are these technologies for small scale farmers who often face resource constraints? So, interestingly, I found a report by McKinsey and Company which notes that while over 81% of large farmers have either adopted or are planning to adopt agritech solutions, only 36% of small farmers are doing the same. Now, this gap raises an important question. How can small scale farmers access AI technologies? Stephen, over to you. I would like if you can share your insights.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a really important statistic. And I think, there's obviously could be a variety of reasons why that disparity between the adoption and the size of farmers is what it is. I think a lot of it has to do with simply cost, right? The cost value trade-off is that traditionally a lot of the technology and the sensors and the IoT and being able to integrate all of this, it came with a very high cost. And a lot of times that cost was even higher because it required additional human capital, human resources to be able to manage that information and manage that data and actually extract the value from it. And so cost has been a huge barrier, I think, to adoption of technology. The other thing that's been a huge barrier is the validation of the value that's being created, right? When every time these farmers are anticipating I could spend X amount of dollars on seed, fertilizer, and chemical that I need to grow the crop, or I could spend those same dollars on technology. Which one of those has the better ROI for me, right? They stick with what they know, which is I need seed, fertilizer, and chemical to grow my crop. Maybe I can do it without the technology because I don't have the discretionary disposable income in order to invest in it. And so, and then the other statistic that you've mentioned before is, I think Gary said is right. I think the numbers, upwards of 88 or 92% of farmers have adopted smartphones. Right. So the personal computing power that they have in the palm of their hand in a very economical format, right? It's a very low cost technology these days. And with the computing power that now exists in there, the companies like growers and many others that are developing mobile applications to bring that technology to the farmer, I think what it's doing is it's going to reduce the investment required to access some of this information. right? And I keep saying this word access, and I think that's the key, right? Is that now they have a pathway to access the information that they need to be more sustainable, more scalable, more effective, more profitable. And 10 years ago, that wasn't the case, and that's why I think you see this large difference in the adoption of technology. Is it hasn't been affordable, and the value or the ROI hasn't exactly been clear. But now, those are simple things to search for in very basic chatbots, right? Is what is the efficacy of this chemical? What's the ROI that this industry has seen on these things? It's absolutely fascinating how much research and validation that you can get at the palm of your hands in an instant, right? And ultimately what that's doing is it's helping these small scale farmers evaluate that risk reward trade-off, right? If I can access it, I'm likely then I think there's a great opportunity to increase adoption.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Stephen. And I believe the information you share, the examples you share, says how it can be cost effective for small farmers. And I wanted to share something for with the audience that in the meantime, we are also dropping some blogs here. You can have a good read around the topics. You can find the link in the chats. Now, let's talk about the synergies of modern technologies. AI, IoT, and drones are often key players in smart farming. But how do they integrate to create a cohesive solution? So, Stephen, how do AI and IoT and drone technologies integrate for holistic farming solutions?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is similar in the same vein that we've been talking about. It's AI has the opportunity to bring it all together. 5 years ago, you have an IoT platform to manage your IoT sensors and the data that came from it. Then you'd have another platform where you could access your imagery, be it from drones or satellites. Then you'd have another platform to manage your agronomic decision making or view information, say on soil fertility. It all existed in individual silos, and I think even if those silos remain, the ability to use AI as a tool to park on top of those silos and extract information from all three of those different buckets of information or silos as we call them, I think that's what's going to help create a much more integrated solution. And it's getting much easier to be able to do that, right? That used to be a big challenge, but now I think it's not nearly as inaccessible as it was, even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Gary, any additional thoughts here you would like
Yeah,
to add?
sure. Yeah, just to build on what Stephen was saying on the small farmers, right? And the thought just came to my mind, and just want to build on what Stephen was saying, is if the way I look at the proliferation of technology within an industry is go to the app store, because everyone has the mobile phone, and just find the apps for smart farms or smart irrigation. If we looked at those apps probably before COVID, we did not have a lot of apps for the farmers, right? So smaller farmers have a lot of access through the SaaS-based companies, which are really providing a freemium model, right? The freemium model is they'll provide certain services for free. I mean, weather forecast, you don't have to pay, and you can actually get the most accurate weather reports these days. And then for farmers who want to shell out just $20-$30, they can actually get a lot more than spending thousands of dollars into adapting those technologies. I believe the number is low in terms of the adoption, is because, as Steven said, this is a global industry. So government has to play a bigger role, specifically for developing countries, to educate those farmers that these things are there for you, go and use it, right? But then the whole change management and governance comes into the picture, and the adoption comes into the picture, because they listen to their neighboring farmers. What are they doing? And the neighboring farmers, if they're not doing, they'll not adopt it. So I think we, as the industry leaders, need to get that voice to the farmers, and we are partnering with a lot of organizations where we are going and doing these kind of webinars for some of those events that is happening and really getting our voice out to the farmers. Now, coming to the IoT and AI technology, right? So I think we've already mentioned the whole framework, right? Data is the key, where we need to make sure we are able to get the data, and IoT is the only way to get the data, right? Now, what I want to talk about some of the advancements happening in the IoT space is if you look at agriculture as an industry again, is it is in the remote areas. You don't have the right connectivity. Sometimes even the 4G signals don't work. And if you're placing sensors where they have to get the connectivity, then obviously it's going to fail. Some of the technologies that have come up is it connects the sensors without the requirement of the internet. At least they can talk to each other in the radius of even as high as 5 kilometers, wherein they can get the data and talk to each other, and then obviously send out the data to one hub, which can then be connected to the internet and extract the data. This is solving a real time problem on the soil moisture, temperature, humidity, and crop health. So that I think is a game changer when it comes to the whole data collection part. And specifically, irrigation is the most important use case in the agriculture industry, right? So that is being taken care of with the advent, not really the advent, with the advancement of IoT, drones, and AI, right? Now, when it comes to actionable insights for farmers, right? That is where I think is the gap in the industry, because they're obviously not tech savvy. Even if you give them the whole dashboards where they can look at the numbers on the top and be able to find the right insights, um, that is where the gap is in the industry of really training the farmers of how to read those dashboards, how to predict certain things. Some of the farmers are way too advanced, right? When we look at the large farms. But for the smaller farmers, a call to action is required to be able to really help them understand. And I think Gen AI can play a bigger role here if they are able to get a chat GPT like an interface within their apps where they can actually talk and ask questions and get those kind of feedbacks. So this is where Gen AI is also very much required to be able to get that information real quick and be able to understand the insights part of it. Lastly, farmers have to make big decisions like all of us, we do in the business, right? So if we are able to provide some of the right drone technologies and help them spray the right pesticides or the fertilizers based on the AI insights, I think this adoption is only going to grow for next 5 years. And it should, even the technology is becoming cheaper. If you look at, there are a lot of drone shows happening. The cost of a drone has grown significantly lower what it was probably 3 5 years ago. That is going to be a real game changer where most of the farmers have to use drones for that real time decision making.
Absolutely, Gary. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. I mean, it's very insightful. Now, when these technologies work together, they transform farming into more sustainable and connected systems. It was a wonderful session. I mean, thank you so much. We covered a lot today. What do you guys think? We covered a lot of things, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's it. There's a lot going on in this space, so we could probably we could spend a lot more time
Yeah,
covering many things.
yeah. So I'll just sum up what we have covered so far, like the challenges and how AI acts as a game changer, and we also touched on accessibility with shared access AI hubs paving the way for small scale farmers to benefit from these advancements. And finally, the integration of AI, IoT, and drones showcased us how these technologies work together to create sustainable, efficient, and connected farming ecosystems. Now, with so much innovation happening, it's inspiring to see how AI is shaping the future of agriculture. Now, let's turn our attention to the audience. We have been receiving so much questions, and I think I'll pick one question from Richard Duke. He's the project manager. So, first question is, modern technologies impact every industry. How can we bridge the awareness gap between employees and tech? So, Stephen, I think we should start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, and I think agriculture is one that's maybe uniquely positioned to maybe better potentially. And I'm biased because I think this industry has a lot of promise, of course, but potentially has an opportunity to bridge this gap. And what I mean by that is that anywhere that I've traveled in the world and been involved in agriculture, it's still heavily a relationally driven business, very community focused. And even there's been a lot of fear on some sides of the industry and optimism on others on what's the role technology is going to play in maybe potentially disrupting relationships. And what I see the opportunity is that I think those people or the industries that serve farmers, right, have a very unique opportunity to leverage this technology as a way to better engage and serve their customers. And farmers, typically get brought new innovation and new technology either from the community that's around them or their trusted advisor, right? And so bridging that gap, I think, is going to be continuing to develop the tools and technology that allow a farmer's trusted advisor to bring this new technology and explain and understand how and where the impact is for the individual farmer. Like Gary said, all of this new technology and dashboards and visualizations can be great, but there's still a large portion of the population that wants to hear it from a human being, right? Wants to hear it from somebody that they know and trust. This is the way that we should go because they're big decisions. They're not, where should I eat tonight? It's what should I plant and where and how should I raise it so that I can make enough revenue to feed my family, provide it for a growing business. So there's a lot of risk involved, and I think there's always going to be a little bit of apprehension in terms of how is this technology trusted, how accurate is it. The role of the trusted advisor, I think, is going to be, very critical to bridging this gap. And I think what we'll start to see is that there's been a lot of maybe fear or concern, and this has happened in every industry. Is AI going to replace humans, and is it going to take away jobs? And I think there's certainly opportunities to bring efficiency, and when there's more efficiencies created, that there could be impacts there. But what I see happening is that the individuals that embrace this technology the most have absolutely nothing to fear because they're still going to be needed, a necessary resource to democratize this information, deliver it to the farmer in a way that makes sense to them. And I think we need to be aware that maybe that isn't always going to be in a digital interface, but somebody's going to be using a digital tool or technology to deliver that. I think that's how this gap is going to be bridged. It's the combination of really enhancing that farmer trusted advisor relationship and helping farmers adopt this technology at scale.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I believe, Richard, your question has been answered well. Gary, would you like to add something here?
No, I think Stephen answered it very well. We can go to the next question.
Yes. So next question is from Emma Gracia, and her question is: how do shared access AI hubs work, and what benefits do they offer farming communities? So, Stephen, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm curious to hear Gary's perspective on this one because he, as a leader in the technology space, right? What he's doing is helping consult and facilitate exactly that, this connection of technologies, building and actually bridging these hubs together. So I may have something to add, but Gary, I think this is a great question from Emma. I'm very, very curious to see your response to it as well.
Right. So I think when we talk about the whole shared access AI hubs, right? So let's first understand how they work. As the name says, it is a centralized tools and infrastructure. The hub hosts the whole AI-powered tools such as crop health, analyzes, predictive weather, etc., etc., etc. So they think of them as the Google, which is all the information, right? Now, what do? You just go to the browser and search. It provides you all the information. Now, given this is very valuable information, there can be certain models which can be built on top of it. It can be a subscription based, or it can be pay per use based, which is also happening in the chat GPT's world, where you can take subscription of a lot of AI tools that is happening. The hub also offers training on using AI tools and providing technical support. There are local experts and technicians who can do that as well. And then lastly, the whole collaboration and sharing, right? So the farmers contribute on the data, they actually pull it. Now, obviously, there is a big issue of data sharing and privacy and things like that. So there are companies which are asking if the farmers are okay to share the data, but it's not easy because every country has different rules, every government have different types of regulations, some of the data going from one country to another. While technology tries to bring us all together, we also need to be careful in terms of the nuances of cross sharing the data between the continents, between the countries, or even between the different cities in a country, right? However, if we are able to cross pass a lot of those, then there is a lot of cost effectiveness. There is kind of show and tell. There are kind of webinars that can be done, like the way we are doing. The farmers coming on a webinar and telling, "Hey, I've done these 10 mistakes. You better don't do it for the next crop," right? So, if I want to summarize this, right, first is the whole creation of the hub of the data, a meaningful data, being able to retrieve the data, and then being able to really pinpoint and answer the right questions the way ChatGPT is doing it for all of us.
Yeah, right, Gary. And there's one more question that I like from Tejasvi. It is, what strategies can businesses adopt for successful AI adoption? Stephen, would you like to answer this question? I mean, it's a
Yeah.
good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best strategy is to get started yesterday on
Hmm.
finding ways to incorporate this type of technology into your regular business flows and process. And I think we're just in such a great spot in 2025, and that a lot of this technology is accessible. A lot of it is free or very low cost. And so I think kind of, starting to experiment and dip your toes in the water, how Gen AI, tools and technologies can help bring efficiencies into businesses is really the best strategy. The other thing that I think is important as a strategy, if you really as an organization or business want to get serious about it, is to continuously be seeking out and pursuing more information and education on the space. It's changing so fast. Every single day there's new technologies, new models being developed and built. And so it's going to take effort, I think, to not get left behind. I think they're going to actually have to invest time, energy, talent, and resources to stay on top of the advancements and the evolutions. And I think this is going to be kind of the new arms race in a way for companies to sort of outcompete and grow their business against their competitors. I think a big differentiating factor in the future is going to be how effective are organizations at leveraging Gen AI technologies to make them more sustainable, scalable, and profitable businesses. So, to kind of summarize that, it's get started immediately, and then be prepared and willing to
Yeah.
invest in the continuous education that's going to be required to just keep up with the accelerated pace of this innovation that's coming into the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen, well said. And Gary, would you like to share something here?
Yeah, sure. So I think the last question where we shared the whole shared access AI hubs, right? Now, if you look at the evolution of AI, I think we are still in the nascent stage across all the industries when it comes to two things, right? One is the whole products companies, the OEMs, who are working hard coming up with the solutions on industry. The whole Amazon, Microsoft, IBM are continuously improving on those technologies, and they have a baseline technology, right? And that's where the services companies and some of the smaller product companies are building models on top of it and being able to provide those solutions. What I feel is after 5 years down the line, all this will mature to a way where, look at the evolution of social media, right? It was just adding friends and posting pictures and seeing the family pictures, right? Now you hardly see any friends and family pictures on Facebook. All you see is relevant information. Basically, what I want doesn't matter if I'm following them or not, right? It is so hyper personalized, right? That's the era the businesses are going to help in every industry, including agri-tech, where the farmers will get very personalized information, and businesses are actually working on it, on hyper personalization using the power of AI.
Great point.
Right, absolutely right, Gary. So next question I'd like to pick up is from Astha Tyagi. She says, "I want to ask, how can fragmented access to modern technologies in rural areas be addressed effectively?"
Yeah, let me take that up, given it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
tech
sure,
question.
sure.
So I think fragmented technology, right?
Yeah.
I would categorize that into probably four things, right? How do you expand digital and physical infrastructure? So these were the problems probably 5, 10 years ago: broadband connectivity, electricity access, mobile technology. Boom, that is done, right? We already talked about the whole shared technology platforms, right? That is evolving. But I think the real problem here is how, and I think Stephen brought up a point that I'm going to reiterate, is empowering the communities through training and awareness. And how do you build the PPPs, right? The whole public-private partnerships. How
Mm-hmm.
do you leverage localized solutions? Now, if we talk about India again, this is multilingual country. So how do you also make solutions which are multilingual in place, right? So if we talk about the fragmentation, it is country, right? It is the language, it is the localization, it is the types of crops that happen in a particular area, right? Like quinoa doesn't happen is grown in India, we import it, right? And similarly, other countries import certain things from United States. So all that fragmentation needs to be taken care of. The good news is the basic infrastructure, the basic access of information, all that is taken care in the rural areas. Now, the next level of advancement that is going to come for rural areas, I highly suggest all the farmers, if they're listening on the webinar, is go onto the apps, go to the app store, just search smart farms. You will find lots of solutions, and that is your step one. Stephen, please feel free to add.
No, no, I think I mean, you did a great job answering it. And I think what has a lot of times been the problem or the challenge in this is this chicken and the egg type
Yeah.
of scenario, right? Is that in order for a region or a community, right, to start to leverage from this pooled, resource or shared access to data, somebody has to start contributing. And so, that's a tale as old as time. And I think one that will continue to be a challenge. But again, a lot of the things that we've talked to, the accessibility, the affordability, the ease of use, the ease of access to this technology is going to, I think, continuously, make that problem become less and less and less. Just the advancements in what Gary mentioned in broadband have been astounding in how that's helped bring new technology to areas that it previously was inaccessible. So that'll continue to improve, and I think that's it's just it's going to take time, and that's the unfortunate reality of it. But the good news is that I think it's happening faster and evolving faster today than it was 10 years ago, and so we should expect, right, that speed or that evolution will continue to accelerate.
Yeah. So
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing the information. So the next question I have is from Alka. She's asking, what are the most significant barriers to adopting digital solutions in the agritech sector, and how can they be overcome?
I mean, I think one of them that we've already hit on a little bit is cost. And Gary brought up the point about drones, and it's like I think back about when the first flat screen TVs came out, they were thousands and thousands of dollars, and nobody could afford. Very few people could afford them. Fast
yeah,
forward 10 or 15 years, and now they're nearly giving them away as door prizes when you come to events. So I think, technology has in a lot of cases, right, has a track record of actually reducing in cost, right? And so this cost will continue to come down. Accessibility is going to continue to go up. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that helps drive adoption or addresses this adoption problem. The other is that there's new industries being created or revitalized around the servicing or using technology to service and deliver this type of support, right? These type of things happen in a lot of other industries, especially in the B2B kind of enterprise technology SaaS, where there's entire industries and organizations that have been created just to help with the integration of technology, right? You have a large B2B software provider that wants to sell it to an enterprise customer, and they're building the technology and doing the sales, but somebody else, an entire different organization, is doing the integration, the training, the onboarding, the implementation. I think that's going to be a new kind of vertical that's created inside of this industry, is the actual adoption, implementation, and integration between the OEMs, like Gary mentioned, and the farmers, kind of both large and small. So again, it's we're at an exciting time because a lot of these things are changing, and I feel like every answer that I have is it's tough, but it's getting better. Hold on, and I think that's still kind of the case here. Is definitely getting better, and I think we have a lot of reasons to be optimistic about how much faster this space will continue to evolve.
Right.
Yeah, right. And now, because we are running out of time, and I believe we have already answered most of the questions. So let's wrap this up. And before we wrap it up, as we said, we have a special giveaway for everyone who has joined. This is our exclusive ebook titled AI in Agriculture Transforming Operations. You can grab your copy using the link in the chat box. And thank you, everyone, for making this session so engaging with amazing questions. And a big shout out to the speakers, Stephen and Gary, for sharing their expertise here.
And I want to really thank Stephen. We have a good relationship working for Successive Digital, working for Grover's next level of transformation. I think everyone should check out Grover's and Acmatics website. They're doing some phenomenal work in next level of agritech solutions coming into their markets.
I appreciate that, Gary. Thank you. Yeah, and Rashi, I appreciate your leading and moderating the session. It's been very insightful, and I've enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
Let's see the behind the scene teams, Rashi, who
Yeah,
actually
I was
has
about
been
to
working
introduce.
for 2 months preparing this content for our audiences. So let's thank the extended.
I was actually asking, like, if I can take a moment to introduce the incredible team behind the webinar. I mean, their expertise and dedication they have brought for the session. So I'd like to want you to meet everyone here. Come in the frame, guys. So here's the team. So we have Yatin and Mayank. They are leading the marketing team here. And Shreya, she has been integral part of this webinar from planning to execution, everything. And Abhijit here, he has been the spot on with his designs. He's designing all the things here. So I would like to thank everybody here also.
Thank you, team. Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
And lastly, for all the viewers, we have shared the link of successive.tech/smartfarms 2.0. Do download this ebook. Lots of good insights, which we already talked about, and it will be a handy ebook for you for your night reading tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much,
everyone.
everyone. Stay connected with Success of Digital for more transformative conversations. See you in the next session, everybody.
Thank you, Rashi, for a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you, Stephen.